Karen Reed led into court in handcuffs. She pleaded not guilty to second-degree murder in the death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe.
And how do you wish to plead to those indictments?
Nothing. Reed's defense lawyer sharing these pictures of the couple during happier times. Prosecutors believe Reed hit him with her SUV outside the home of a Canton police officer after a night of drinking. It happened during a January snowstorm.
In the same area where the body had been recovered, 2 red plastic pieces of a taillight were located, consistent to the pieces missing from the defendant's black Lexus.
Tears in court as the prosecutor described the medical examiner's findings, including 2 black eyes, skull fractures, and hypothermia.
She opined from her examination that the significant blunt force trauma injuries occurred prior to Mr. O'Keefe's becoming hypothermic.
Reed's lawyer flagging what he says are ethics problems. He says the investigating trooper is friends with the Canton officer who owns the home where O'Keefe was found.
We have uncovered that the lead detective is very close with the owners of that property. And he was supposedly assigned to the case to avoid the appearance of impropriety.
He also made the claim that evidence may have been doctored, though he did not elaborate.
We have photographic evidence that my client's vehicle, before it was taken by the police, was in different condition than when the police actually evaluated it.
Said it feels we're the only ones fighting for the truth of what happened to John O'Keefe. And me and my family and my attorneys and my team have marshaled every resource to get to the truth. It just feels like no one else wants it.
Karen, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
And no, she didn't do it. No, she didn't do it. This is an innocent woman. She didn't do it.
I tried to save his life.
Yeah.
I tried to save his life at 6 in the morning. I was covered in his blood. I was the only one trying to save his life.
Why'd you admit to it?
She didn't admit to it. She didn't admit to anything close to that. Nothing close to that. And you should know that.
That was like 3 or 4 times she admitted to it.
No, she didn't.
That's not true.
She asked a question. She asked a question, which is very different. She didn't admit to anything. Folks, this is what it looks like when you bring false charges against an innocent person. The Commonwealth did their worst. They brought the weight of the state based on spurious charges, based on compromised investigation and investigators and compromised witnesses. This is what it looks like. And guess what? They failed. They failed miserably, and they'll continue to fail. No matter how long it takes, no matter how long they keep trying, we will not stop fighting. We have no quit. Go ahead.
I just have 2 things to say, folks. Number 1, I am in awe of the strength and courage of this remarkable client that I've had the privilege of representing since day 1. And number 2, I want to send a message to all of her supporters out there. Your support was invaluable. We are touched, and we ask for your continued support. I'm not from Texas, like my colleague here. I'm a Boston kid. But I'll repeat what he said, which is, we ain't got no quit.
Mr. Foreman, on docket number 2218-CR117001, murder in the second degree, what say you? Is the defendant of the bar guilty or not guilty? So say you, Mr. Foreman? So say you? No. Yeah. Do you agree? Yeah. Do all of you agree? Yeah. Thank you. 002, what say you? Is the defendant of the bar not guilty or guilty? Is not guilty or guilty of that charge or any lesser included charge. Thank you. Specifically, number 5, operating under the influence of liquor by operating a motor vehicle with a blood alcohol level of 0.08 or greater. Correct? So say you, Mr. Foreman? So say you all? 003, what say is the defendant at the bar leaving the scene after accident resulting in death? Defendant not guilty or guilty? So say you, Mr. Foreman? So say you all? Jurors, hearken your verdict as the court records that you upon your oath say the defendant on 001 is not guilty, and 002 is guilty of operating under the influence of liquor, and 003 not guilty. Thank you.
All right, jurors, everybody please be seated. Jurors, we thank you for your service. We're going to send you back. Your service is complete. I'd like to come back and talk to you for a little bit afterwards. So thank you very much.
All rise. You're call me.
number one is I could not be standing here without these amazing supporters who have supported me and my team financially and, more importantly, emotionally for almost 4 years. And the second thing I want to say is no one has fought harder for justice for John O'Keefe than I have. Than I have and my team. Thank you.
Amen. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back into LTL Media. It is Wednesday night. It is Wednesday night here on the live show. I want to welcome everybody in. I see a lot of moderators and members. Jay Brill in the chat. What's up, man? Hey, man. Good job out in front of the courthouse the other day with Kelsey's hearing. You did a great job. I saw some clips of you on the JFK show, and you guys nailed it. You had a great interview, that great small little interview with Kelsey. The camera work was great. It was good to see you. Yes, Little Miss, what's going on? Nice to see you all the way over from London, channel, hanging out on the channel. She said she's still awake. She's still awake. You know, the funny thing is, and I want to talk a little bit about this tonight. We hear this on the internet. We hear this on the interwaves. LTLs fall off. He doesn't have the crowd. He doesn't have the chat. I don't care about any of that. I've said this a long time ago. If you want to come over to LTL and you want to watch my show, I appreciate y'all being here. But if you need to get off the train, just like Karen said, if you need to get off the train and go, that's fine too, because I'm not going anywhere. And I have a pedigree and I have a catalog of 1,800 videos that educate people that come to LTL Media on a daily basis. Okay, so think about that. Over 1,800 videos on this channel that educate and bring new subscribers in and new people in every single day. And I appreciate all of you for being here and checking out my content. And we're going to have a lot of great content over this next year. I am planning some big things for the channel and some different stylistic changes as well too. And you're going to see a lot more integration of dropping videos, and you're going to see a lot more integration of live streaming. And we're going to balance it out. We're going to keep banging into that algorithm, because that's what gets you to the end game. And that's what keeps your channel flowing. And I'm going to be collaborating with a lot of new talent that's out there and a lot of new guests. So I'm super excited. This Sunday, if you don't know, this Sunday I have a film crew that's coming out from New York City that's been involved in some very big documentaries and has worked with some really large creators and content channels and mainstream media. And this has been in the works for a couple of weeks. And it is to some content that I have done here on my channel. And they want to come out and do a full day shoot with me. So I'm super excited that they'll be coming out to my house, and we'll be doing a shoot, and hopefully I make it into this part of the documentary. Again, documentaries are not certain. I've seen situations just like in the Karen Reed documentary came out. I sat with them for 2 hours, gave them an interview, didn't make it in it. It's fine, but it was a great opportunity to do that, network some great people. And but I have a good feeling about this one. I really do have a good feeling. And when I get more details that I can share with you, I'm under, obviously a contractual agreement right now. And so I can't talk too much about it, but I'll try to get some photos of when they're in here and it's set up, and maybe I can, get some kind of behind the scenes photos and show you what that looks like. So again, some really big things planned here on the channel. I'm super excited about it. And I think the documentary is going to be great, because it's going to be the documentary on this particular subject. So great stuff. Well, let's get into tonight's show tonight. Thank you. I love all you guys. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you being here. I think I saw a super sticker come in. Coffee Cake, thank you for the $5 super sticker. I appreciate you. Thank you. And then we have Friday coming up. We have the multi-leveled or multi-stream or simulcast Karen Reed fundraiser that's going to be hosted by Mike from the Young Jerks. We're going to have a ton of guests on there, a lot of the same content creators that were there, and a lot of special guests, people that we haven't heard from yet. And I think Mike's going to do a great job on that. And, super excited about that too. So, listen, I appreciate you all being here. Again, smash the like button. If you haven't been here and this is your first time over here, make sure to subscribe. I would appreciate that. Let's see. Teeper Legal checking in says, hey, Brian, and Horizons being down has called all sorts of problems today. I'm sure it has, and I was going to talk about that too. Did you guys get hit by Verizon being down today? My phone right now is on a tiny bar, and it's been bouncing back and forth from LTE, and I've been on Wi-Fi pretty much all day. So yeah, how many people got hit with that? Nope. I have Verizon, so it's mostly Verizon customers, and they hit all the way. I mean, you can only imagine like people in airports, people that have appointments, people that have to go to court, you know, phone teleconferences, businesses. It probably stalled a lot of businesses today as well too. So AT&T is all good, awesome. T-Mobile, I have a lot of T-Mobile users at work, so a lot of AT&T and T-Mobile. I don't know. I've been with Verizon for like 20 years. Can't seem to get off that train, but anyway, let's get in tonight's program. We are going to go over and review the recent Billy Bush interview with Alan Jackson. I got to listen to it at work today and take a lot of notes, and I was super excited to go into this. And it's like, you know, the Karen Reed, I would say, like, phenomenon is picking up again. I mean, we had that phenomenal interview that just dropped a couple of days ago from Stephanie Sue and her team over at Rotten Mango. I think as of right now, and I haven't looked, and I'm going to check right now, I think that has over 1 million views on it, and it's got to be over 1 million. I thought maybe in 2 days it would be over 1 million views. It right now is at 966,000 views within 2 days. So I would say by probably tomorrow morning, it's going to be a 1 million view video, and it's doing its job because I'm looking at the defense fund, and I just checked it before I went live. I'm looking at the defense fund, and right now we are at, well, Karen is at $44,550. And that doesn't mean that we can't stop contributing. I have her defense fund link at the top of the chat. You can click on that and make a donation, and I will keep an eye on this throughout the show, and hopefully we can raise some money for Karen by the end of the show. So please, if you can contribute, click on that defense fund link. It'll drop in the chat as the show continues to go on here throughout the night. And, you know, maybe we can raise $500, $1,000, a couple of $1,000 would be great. And you know, we're going to have a big goal line to pass on Friday and get this thing moving. And I love it because it is doing its job. It's doing its job. And I think because of the Rotten Mango interview, because of that Lifetime movie, it's, you know, getting people that have not heard of Karen's case, or maybe people that had followed it and they went, you know, the trial is over, you know, time to move on to some other cases and get active in those. Maybe it's reinvigorating some of those people to come back and take another look at this and say, hey, wait a minute, I forgot Karen has a huge civil defense. Karen, you know, Karen still continuing to fight against North Fork County in her 3 civil cases, gets us closer to answers for John O'Keefe, because it will. It absolutely will. And that's why we keep asking you, if you have $5, $10, $20, $100, $1,000, donate to that defense fund, because it is going to help chase and pursue in the face of justice to keep fighting for Karen. Okay, so let's do this. I want to talk about the Billy Bush interview. Billy Bush just hit 1 year on YouTube the other day. Congratulations, Billy Bush. The channel is really hopping over there, and it's always nice to see Alan Jackson pop back in on the channel, because who doesn't enjoy listening to Alan Jackson talk? He's just like a natural at it, and I love the information that we can get from his interviews. And I was looking, and I wrote down some of the quotes in the interview, and I love these 3 quotes that I pulled from the interview. So Alan Jackson, the government, this is from Alan, the government doesn't just have to get it right, they have to get it perfect. And that isn't talking about prosecuting, making sure, you know, look, they don't just get it halfway. They have to make sure that they get it right. And then I love this one too. My job is not to judge my client. My job is to protect the Constitution. And that is just playing it fair, playing it down the middle, and playing it by the law. And I love that. And then another quote on Karen Reed, he said, they slept like babies prosecuting an innocent woman. And that is obviously Norfolk County and Michael Morsi, the Norfolk County DA. And hopefully we have a new DA next year, because that guy needs to go. he needs to go. So we're going to get into this, and the show is going to open with Alan Jackson talking about his background and career and his origin. He's going to explain, growing up in Texas, very poor, raised by a single mother. He joined the Air Force at 17 because he couldn't afford college, and that paved his way to becoming a lawyer. And he went off to Pepperdine and then ultimately ended up graduating. And I think he says in this interview, I knew when I walked into a courtroom or a moot court, he said, I knew that I had to be inside a courtroom. He's like, I didn't want to be a defense lawyer. I didn't want to be, lawyers that do negotiation. I wanted to be in the courtroom and be a trial lawyer. That's where his heart was. And he said there was nothing against being a civil lawyer because that job is very hard, but he felt that his place in his time on this earth was to be inside a courtroom. And I have to agree. He's a phenomenal lawyer, probably the best defense lawyer in this nation, if not, in my opinion, the world, because I've seen him work. I've seen his body of work, and I love it. I love his approach. He does everything for the best interest of his client, and he fights. And I love that. He does not back down. He pushes and presses to get his clients their fight in accordance to the law. He doesn't let dirty, corrupt DAs do things to nefarious to his clients. So it's one thing that I've always loved about Jackson. And then he's going to talk about his references to like programs that he watched that got him invigorated in being a lawyer. I think one of them was like Matlock, Perry Mason, Law and Order. And then he quotes from the movie. He doesn't quote. He says the movie, Why Not? A few Good Men. And then ironically, that it was directed by Rob Reiner. And then they're going to get into the Reiner case. So let's pull this up and we'll go through it. Again, I appreciate everybody being here. Please make sure to smash the like button if you've just come in, and we'll sit back and go through this and commentate and hear Alan Jackson, because who doesn't love listening to Alan Jackson? Here we go.
Well, when it was announced that Alan Jackson would be representing Nick Reiner as he faced first-degree murder charges for killing his parents, we were stunned. When Alan abruptly stepped down 5 days ago on arraignment day, we were floored. What in God's name happened? Our guest today, Alan Jackson, on the 1-year anniversary episode of Hot Mics with Billy Bush. Thanks for that. Presented by our friends at LA Golf. Hot Mics a simulcast, or was it a trimulcast on Facebook? It is our longful dead. It was up criminal. It's it's gypsy water body lotion. I know it is. They should be paying you heavily for that.
They should. I think I put a wing on somebody's house with this stuff. Yeah.
Well, boy, you've been through a lot.
It's been a busy week. Busy week. Yeah.
Is it always this like busy and hectic in your?
It's. I would love to say this comes in fits and starts, but it's been pretty consistent through the last year or so. Yeah. We're busy. I'm lucky. Knock on wood.
Is 25 the busiest year? And before, has there been a year that's been more chaotic than this? You've represented all kinds of.
Well, I mean, look, if I go back to starting in 2022 when I first met this young lady named Karen Reed, my career and my life and my schedule and the rest of the team's schedule has been like shot out of a cannon. So it hasn't slowed down. The last couple of years have been pretty chaotic, but it's good. Look, if you're in the business that I'm in, that's what you want.
Yeah, this was dropped the other day
in the courtroom. I want to be fighting. I want to do the job that I was trained to do. So yeah, it's good.
And what people don't know about you, and we'll get into some of that. Just about your background. I mean, you literally come from nothing.
Pretty much.
Nothing.
Pretty much. Yeah. I was raised by a single mom in Texas and grew up very modestly, much more modestly than people think. And ultimately, at 17, I joined the military. Went to the Air Force for 4 years because I couldn't afford to go to college. So the military, God bless them, helped pay for college and ended up matriculating through the University of Texas after I got out of service, and then came out to California.
You know what I always love is I love watching Billy Bush and I love watching his interviews because I know where Billy's studio is. And here's a fun fact. If you don't know, Billy's studio is actually in a building that comedian Howie Mandel owns. And they did, if you go on Howie's channel, they did a kind of behind the scenes, thing inside his building, and you can see Billy's spot inside that building and in his producer, you can see all his producers where their control room is. And that was pretty cool. So check that out. I think that's on Howie Mandel's channel. And he's got several podcasts in there, and he opened this space. Oh, he makes a okay, cool. I didn't get through the whole thing, Ruby, because I was listening to it at work today, and I get tied up at certain things. So I got maybe 45 minutes through this, but thank you for pointing that out. But you can also go over and check out on Howie's channel, kind of they tour the facility there. It's pretty awesome. It's a big, huge warehouse or building that he owns. Okay, here we go.
And went to Pepperdine. And the only thing I wanted to do from the moment I walked into
that's right. He does pop in every
mock courtroom
now and then.
And at Pepperdine on the campus, I knew I wanted to be in the trial courtroom. I did not want to be a transactional lawyer. I didn't want to do civil work if I could help it, because I know that civil lawyers, as difficult as that job is, they don't go to trial quite as much as criminal lawyers. And so I wanted to be in the trial courtroom as much as possible. So I gravitated toward the DA's office, and that was my training ground. That's where I learned to cut my teeth in a courtroom.
Any TV shows or anything like Matlock or anything that like inspired you when you were a young kid? Like, I want to be that guy.
Honestly, literally all of them, like all of the TV shows, in an amalgamation of them, I watched with great interest, because you can learn an enormous amount of technique and skill in the confines of a courtroom, the theater of a courtroom. So I've watched everything from Law and Order episodes to old Perry Mason episodes to Matlock episodes to movies. A Few Good Men is a big one, which has gotten some notoriety obviously of late. I think that's one of the best courtroom dramas
Directed by
Rob Reiner.
Rob Reiner.
Yeah.
What's interesting is there are people putting pen to paper now because of your work. TV shows are being written, and procedurals, and a movie, and mostly on Karen. Right. One of them is out with an actress I haven't heard of, but then there's more to come.
You mean you're talking about the Lifetime show?
Yeah.
The Lifetime.
Yeah, I was just going to say, they're going to transfer into the segue into this now. And I have some notes, and he's going to talk about that he feels that the realism of the whole Lifetime movie was uncanny. He said that he felt Katie Cassidy nailed the look for Karen Reed, nailed Karen. I believe so too. I mean, he even said that in the streams, that when we broke it down and did the after show, I thought she nailed it. I mean, for getting that part for 72 hours and then having to step into Karen's world and get that look, I think they absolutely nailed it. And it's funny, Alan's going to talk about the character that played him in the show, and he's going to talk about they nailed the wardrobe. He said I think at one point he's like, they have the watch, and he's like, and they even went out and found those kind of famous bracelets that we've seen him wear. And I actually have a couple myself, not those ones, because those ones are really expensive. I looked them up today. Some of them are like $4,000. But he talks about how he felt that they did a really good job with it. I still think it's like a 5.5, knowing what we know about it, but all good positive press on their end, of course. And my opinion, it was like a 5.5 to a 6. But I think it's doing the job. I mean, people are getting aware of Karen's case again, and reinvigorating people and bringing them back around to these shows and social media. And wait until the Reed files start. I mean, I think there's 13,000 people that are already subscribed on that channel already. I mean, it's going to be a powerhouse channel when Karen gets up there and starts talking with Jackson and Nick Rocco and guests, the guests that they bring on. So I'm super excited to see what's going to come out of that channel. Okay, here we go.
Movie.
There was a life.
That is the actress, Katie Cassidy.
Yeah.
Fantastic job. She did a great job. I saw the film over the weekend. She did a terrific job. She is David Cassidy's daughter.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yeah.
Partridge Family.
Right.
It was uncanny how the set designers, the production coordination of that film, the direction of that film, it was uncanny how they captured accurately, first of all, what Karen looked like, down to her shoes, down to her clothing that my character wore, down to the watch, and somebody found these bracelets. It was bizarre to watch. It was nuts.
They found your love bracelets?
You call them.
Do those bracelets, hold those up for a second. Do those have meaning?
Well, they're designed by a guy named Din Van, a Parisian designer who I found the first one in France when I was traveling in France many years ago. And so I bought one. And then when I had my daughter, I bought the second one just to commemorate my love and adoration for her. So I wear these. I never take them off.
How old is she?
She's 6.
6.
6
You
years
have a
old.
6-year-old.
I have a 6-year-old. You're welcome.
That's why you're
and
in
I
such
run
good
this
shape.
business.
Oh my God, you work as hard as you do. You're in sick shape chasing around a 6-year-old.
That's
That
right.
was complete discipline.
All right, they're going to segue here in my notes here. I have, receiving the call from the Reiner camp. And they're going to talk about Jackson received the call early morning on December 15th while in New York on another case. And I want to talk about the potential case that he might have been out in New York and maybe a client that you guys have forgotten about. And this is only my speculation because I don't know, because he doesn't say what client he was out in New York. But just seeing some things over the last couple of days and doing some research, I'm like, oh, this might be the client that he's out there, doing some organizational work and getting ready for court. So he said he basically had to drop everything and immediately flew back to Los Angeles and describes the moment as triage mode. But let's just do this real quick. Could it be possible that Jackson, and remember this client, I'm just going to ask the chat, who are some of Jackson's clients, names that kind of pop off in your head? If I say Alan Jackson, famous, well, he's not an actor. So I'll just say it's not Kevin Spacey. Who else was an Alan Jackson client or still is a Jackson client? You're close, Adam. Yes. Harvey Weinstein. And I was looking this up, and he is actually getting ready to consider a guilty plea ahead of his 3rd sexual assault trial. And that trial is coming up soon. So you guys are smart. I love this. Look at this. Everybody's very, very smart. You guys are on it. So I did some digging around. I saw that and I said, oh, all right, well, maybe he was out there for Weinstein. Weinstein right now is being held in Rikers Island. Not a fun prison. Not a fun prison. I wouldn't want to be in Rikers, but yeah. So I was digging around. I'm like, it had to be Weinstein. And he didn't talk about it on the show, but it kind of leads you to believe that it would be Weinstein. All right, let's pull this back up and let's keep going through here.
Okay, so much to discuss, and but I do love the fact that a guy who grew up with absolutely nothing.
I think he's in his 60s.
Texas, buys bracelets from someone named Din Von. Can we just say that's America, baby?
That's
Take advantage
America.
of it.
Yeah.
All right, as I laid out at the beginning there, Sunday, December 14th, as evening approaches, we all get the story on our phones, as happens, that Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle, have been stabbed to death in their home. Immediately, I was at the Rams football game that afternoon. I was having dinner with some guys afterwards, and I looked at it, and just because I had interviewed Nick Reiner and his father, Rob, years ago for their movie Being Charlie, I
agree, Jay.
Immediately knew in my gut. I said, oh, my God, I think I know how this happened. To me, it's their son, Nick. It has to be. When did you get the call?
I can only, just as a caveat, I can only say what I said at the press conference that I issued right after I withdrew from the case. So I'm not going to be able to go much further than that. But at the press conference, as I indicated, I got the call. I was in New York at the time on another case, and I got the call in the very, very early morning hours of the 15th. It was just hours into the circumstances.
Can I ask, was it family that called, or was it?
Now, this is great. I love this line of questioning. He keeps trying to go back and get answers from Jackson. Obviously, Jackson's very smart, but Billy, A for effort here in trying to get Jackson to open up a little bit more. But he just ain't going to do it. And I'll speculate here a little bit of what I think about this after I listen to it back. I only got to listen to it once today, but I'm going to speculate a little bit here what's going on.
Representative or someone else?
As I love to say, you can ask anything you want. Yeah, but I will not answer that.
I agree.
I also grew up watching Matlock, so we'll see.
So, Nan, let me just pause this. Do you think that he had some type of relationship with the family? Is that what you think is going on here? Do you think he had some personal relationship with the family? Did he know them? And I want to see what everybody else's speculation here is, because that's kind of what I was speculating. And some other scenarios that I've come up with as well too.
See how we do here. Had you read the news before? Was this out when you got the call? Can I say, was this like out of left field? Huh? What? Who? Or had you seen on your phone, like everyone else, that this, oh my God, that this had happened?
I was aware, but only within minutes.
Minutes before, like just like serendipitous timing.
Correct,
Someone had
correct.
said, "Oh my God, can you hear about this?" And then all of a sudden, your phone rings. And
Yeah,
it's
so
like,
I was deeply, deeply invested in the case that I was out in New York for, which is what I do. I tend to get hyper focused, whatever I happen to be working on at the time. That is my focus at that moment. And so I was not reading social media. I wasn't reading the news. I was reading and studying the circumstances surrounding the case I was out in New York for. So I was a little bit in the blind, but yeah, I found out close enough in time, about the same time as everybody else.
we are, by the way, it's going to take all of us, Matlocks. We're going to have to work as one here. So the chat section is wide open. We are live as
let's see. My chat froze in StreamYard. Let's see. Nope, it just came back. Nan says, I don't think he had a relationship with the family. I think his firm previously represented someone aligned with Rob Reiner. Oh, okay. Could be that. He knew movie directors. Okay. That's very fair too. Not sold on It's Just Money. Matlock was I couldn't stand Matlock. My mom used to watch that show. Just a little too old for me. Let's see. If it was a conflict, then why not hire and pay someone else? Why state appointed? So what I think happened was, probably what happened was the family was there to defend, the money was there, and then probably hearing some of the evidence, the family, this is just my speculation. Don't put this on record. I'm only speculating here. After hearing some evidence, maybe the family said, and they pulled back and withdrew all the funds and said, sorry, Nick, you're on your own. Here's a public defender. That's what I thought. And yeah, you watch Matt. Well, you are a lawyer, so.
live can be. So Steve, if you see anything, and guys in the control room there, if you see anything, that, you know, a question.
Who agrees?
Yeah, we're on it. We're on it.
We'll
And there's a lot of people in for sure. So
there's a lot of people.
People love
in.
Alan Jackson.
Yeah, I say welcome. Thank you for, to all of our lawyers.
Yeah, I mean, and I think, and I'm only speculating here, because when Alan says he's not guilty, and he'll hear him say it, he's not guilty here by the law. So maybe that's because, and I'm doing my speculation here, maybe that's because of Nick's mental state. And they do talk about going away to a facility, a mental facility, and they're going to talk about that as this comes up. And that's what I was thinking is, Alan gets the call, Alan comes out and defends. The family hears a little bit more about the scenario from the DA's office. They get some information. Then they turn around and go, oh shit, this is going to be a clear case that he physically did this. So they withdraw the money, and then the money is gone. And then Jackson decides that he's going to step aside, and then go the public defender route for the family. And that's, again, it's my only speculation. And they do talk about insanity plea in here. So it's interesting. And this was, some of the notes that I wrote down and, had kind of on my taking notes as I was listening to this today. All right,
the audience who has been with us for the whole year, and to all of my former television colleagues who are watching now because of our guest. But anyway, so you get this call. I'm going to ask you, but
Sure.
Were the siblings sort of immediately wanting to help Nick? Was the person on the other end of the phone call, this was, we want, as tragic as the event is, we want to help our brother too?
Again, I don't mean to be coy, and I know you got to ask the questions, and a lot of people are interested, but I have to show fealty and loyalty to the confidentiality that attends that kind of phone call, that kind of communication. I can tell you that immediately thereafter, I dropped everything. I sent out a notice to my team here back in Los Angeles.
You accepted the job right away. That we know you accepted the job.
I got on a flight nearly immediately. I had to go to court before I could get on a flight, and I changed my flights and immediately flew back to Los Angeles that same day, unexpectedly. And then from that point forward, for the next about 3 weeks, it was all this case all the time. And the entire team dropped everything to make sure that we were showing as much, or giving as much of our energy to Nick as we possibly could.
So let me ask, in a situation like that, what are the priorities here? Like what you're in New York, you're on a case, you're working, this comes in, it's like, let me wrap what I'm doing here not that case in New York is any less important to
It's
you.
not, it's not any less
but
important.
you know that this
Right.
is something that's we're gonna have to get some legs underneath. I'm gonna have to go back and touch in with people. What's the list? For you when you're accepting a client and you're prioritizing where that person goes, are you looking for because you've represented some people who are not overly sympathetic. You've represented some unlikable people. You don't seem to shy away from that. What is it that, what boxes need to be checked in what order?
Well, every case is different, obviously. Every case is wildly different. There's no two cases that sort of feed the same formula. There is no formula, but there are some hurdles. There's some landmarks, if you will, when you start defending a case. I could be brought on just before trial. I could be brought on when the case is nearly about to settle. I could be.
He's going to talk about here. He's going to emphasize his duty is constitutional protection, not by popularity. And he's going to say, and I like this quote too, "My job is not a popularity contest." And he says, every citizen deserves full constitutional safeguards regarding the accusations. And I love that. Absolutely love that. By the law, for the law, defending the law.
Brought on at any point during the life or the arc of the case. So different priorities for each one of those circumstances. Sometimes you're brought on a case and it's complete and utter triage mode. That was this case, obviously. Drop everything, get back here, and start putting together as much as we can to envelop the client in the protections of the Constitution. That is what I have fealty to. So I couldn't care less. By the way, you mentioned, well, there's certain people that are not as popular that you've represented. My job is not a popularity contest. My job is to protect the Constitution, and I do it for any and every citizen that contacts me, and I'm hired by them.
But sometimes that deflects off onto you. Like, why would Alan Jackson, people don't get that. They don't care.
If it deflects off on me, then
why would he represent Harvey Weinstein? Why would you do anything with that man? Or Spacey, Kevin Spacey, if they feel that way.
Every single person, every citizen in this country is entitled, before they are committed, right? Before they are committed to a prison cell, before they're committed to a conviction, before they're committed to a trial, every single citizen has the exact same series of constitutional rights, and they are embedded in the fabric of our society. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you're accused of. The government has to get it right every single time, right? Yep. They don't have to just get it right. They have to get it perfect. Every single time. Yep. So I don't discriminate between client to client, who did what, or to whom, when, and where. That is not for me to judge. My judgment and my loyalty and my fealty, my focus, hyper focus, is on making sure that the government gets it right. At some point, Billy, there's a point at which the government intends in a criminal case, most criminal cases, if it includes a prison sentence, they intend to take the most valuable thing you have as a human being away from you. That is your liberty. Freedom. You're sitting at that desk. Yep. You're sitting behind that microphone because you chose to, right? You drove here this morning because you chose to. Now, switch that. You no longer get to choose what you wear in the morning. You're given a set of clothes by the government. You don't get to choose what time you wake up or go to bed or what you do for a living. You're in a cell. You're at the mercy of the government. They've taken away your liberty and your right to live a free life, right? That comes with consequences. Meaning it comes with consequences for the government. Before they can take those rights away, you damn well better get it right. You better cross every T. You better dot every I. You better make no mistakes. You better not cut any corners. 100%. And that's where I step in. No matter who the citizen is, they're entitled to absolute protection under the Constitution. And I am, at least I like to think of myself and my team as the protectors of that Constitution and that citizens' rights.
So what was the most pressing issue with Nick? Of all the issues that could be this person is going to could have their rights taken away, forget about the horrible thing he's accused of. Or was it, this is high profile, this is good for the business, we're going to,
no, I don't care about I don't know in advance what's going to be high profile and what's not. I mean, obviously, certain cases are going to get more media attention than others, but that never weighs into my decision making in terms of how I approach a case. I approach a case the same way every single time. Protect the client's interests. Protect against any potential government overreach. If the government gets it right, if they do everything exactly right, if the detectives get it exactly right, the prosecution gets it exactly right, the judge gets it exactly right, then good. That means the system's working. But in my career, that has literally never happened. They don't tend to get it right all the time. And when mistakes are made, they start to build on each other. And that's when people's rights are that's when they're compromised. And I that's what I can't stand for. So I don't sit and choose a client because it's high profile or because it's not high profile. I choose a client because there's a chemistry there between them and our team. And I feel like I can provide something of great importance to that person at that time in their life. And that is constitutional protection.
Okay, Steve, we're live on YouTube here. Comment section is ablaze. Go ahead. What you get? Somebody who wants to ask a question.
Yeah, we have one.
My chat is like it's frozen in StreamYard, but I can see the chat here. Renee, thank you so much for the $5 super sticker. Again, if you want to contribute to the show, you can hit that super chat button. I would appreciate it, and I'll read out your super chat to the crowd. She says, Brian, long gamers will always fly with you. No seats for the haters, 39,000 feet. I appreciate it. I really do appreciate a lot of the long gamers that have come over here and subscribed up to this channel and supported me here. I ultimately support JFK, James Jackson, Jay Brill, Kevy Kev. Those guys are great guys. They're doing great work. And listen, man, JFK's getting the interviews, bro. Jay Brill's out there with the camera, and JFK's asking the questions to Kelsey. He's getting it done. So I love it. They're doing great work over there. And when I can pop by and see their show and jump on their panel, I always have a good time with them. So please make sure to go sub up JFK Show Off, James Jackson, journalist James Jackson, Jay Brill, and Kevy Kev. All right, here we go.
From Dagny Taggart, who was asking, this was kind of relative to what you're talking about with different cases. Does every case get its own support team and in itself? Or Alan, when you have these multiple cases, are you heading them all with different teams for each one is one thing. And then I have another question before I give it to Alan from me.
And I wish I had a production team. Look at this production team. Look, they get the questions in the back. It's great, isn't it? This is like one day, this is my dream to get back out into a studio with a production team and have these type of interviews. So awesome. Love it. So cool. All right, guys, here we go.
Well, you don't know if cases need to be famous. When you started with Karen Reed, was there any idea where Karen Reed would end up when you started it? Was this something that was going to kind of
so
explode?
good questions, both of them. To answer the first question first, it completely depends, right? It depends on what our staffing is. It depends on how big the issues are that we're dealing with at the firm, as to how many folks we staff on a particular case. I'm lucky. Again, I'm very fortunate. I've got some of the best lawyers in the country working for us, and so I can pick and choose, and I have to pick and choose. Sort of as a field general, I have to make decisions about this situation has to be dealt with in this silo. I have 2 or 3 lawyers that are really expert at that particular thing. May it be a motion writing, discovery issues, forensic evidence, things of that nature, and we'll decide amongst ourselves how we're going to staff up the case.
And Better Call Saul fans would know that, HHM can always call Davis and Maine and, hey, we need a little help in this particular area.
Exactly.
You can call in some subcontractors.
Yeah.
All right. They're going to segue into Karen Reed's, obviously, talk about Karen Reed case going global. Jackson admits that he had no idea the case would explode. He's going to give Aiden Turtleboy Carney his props for his grassroots reporting. And I agree. I mean, Aiden really blew this thing wide open. That's something that I've never disagreed on. He and I might have our disagreements as far as the way that I have been treated through all of this and the way that he's continued to treat me. But I will never discredit him that he was the guy that blew open this grassroots campaigning. I mean, it's a fact. It's part of history. And then, he's going to talk about, when Karen first became Jackson's client, he's going to talk about, going to the courthouse and there was like 5 cameras and then there was 50 and then there was thousands of supporters. And he's going to talk about all the international support and some of the countries he calls out as Ireland, Australia, and China. So good stuff. Let's listen to this segment here.
And if we need to, we do. And a lot of that is that propels the next conversation on who we need in terms of experts to come in either from a particular field, medical experts, forensic experts, computer experts, whomever. So that the staffing all depends on how the case starts to unfold in front of us and what our strategy is moving forward and how we want to defend the case. In terms of publicity, to run Steve's second question, no. When I went to in September of 2022, I knew that there was some local media that had interest around Karen's case. The first time I went to court, they didn't know me. I didn't know them. The media, there were probably, I don't know, I want to say 3 or 4 or 5 cameras.
Yeah, you actually run the risk of being a carpetbagger, right? They're bringing in the LA guy.
For sure.
In Boston, you know, is wicked local there. Who's this guy over there, Mr.
Wicked,
Slick, in
wicked
his nice
local.
suits over there looking, you know, fit and all that.
There you go.
And you come in.
So I had no idea that it was going to catch fire the way that it did. There was, as you know, there was a local, there was local interest in Karen's case, and there was a young man who we owe an incredible debt of gratitude to, Aiden Kearney,
Turtle Boy,
and he took the mantle of this situation, of this case on, and began the process of making sure that he was reporting on it every single day. He was getting the word out there. That started to catch fire, and then one thing led to another, and it sort of self-generated and began to explode. And the next time I went out to court, there was instead of 5 cameras, there were 25 cameras. And the next time I went to court,
you can't deny that. You can't deny that history. You know, he blew this wide open. And the fact of just how it's been the after effect, I can't agree with. You know, I put my tweet out in October after JFK's Halloween party, and I said what I had to say. You know, I treat people how they treat me. I support people when they support me. If you can't do that, then I can't support you. So, you know, that's how I've just kind of felt about it. I'm not going to get too much into it, but, you know, you get my point here. All right, here.
There were 50 cameras, and then the 100 people turned into 1,000, turns into 5,000.
It became a traveling destination. I talked to people who came from Ireland.
Oh yeah.
No, who were out there in lawn chairs and pink t-shirts.
Yep,
and
same thing. We had folks that would when we would drive up at the very end of the case, by the time it had gotten to its zenith, its highest point, truly there were people who would shout at us words of support from Australia, from China, from Ireland, from all over the world that came to the location to catch a glimpse of Karen Reed and her team.
What a scene. I've got so many more questions.
All right, they're going to switch back to Reiner's case. Let's see. They're going to play the clip when Jackson's out in front of court the other day for Nick Reiner under the California law. Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder, so they're going to play that. They're also going to talk about to correct any of the misinformation about it and to not undermine the public defender. He says that he was doing a favor to the truth. Okay,
on that front and where that's actually going. But I want to go. Let's go back to the courthouse. The arraignment was last Wednesday for Nick Reiner. I was floored. I was stunned when all of a sudden you're on the courthouse steps and you are backing away from the case. So let's play the tape of Alan outside the courthouse here.
We've investigated this matter top to bottom, back to front.
Down in front.
What we've learned, and you can take this to the bank, is that pursuant to the laws of this state, pursuant to the law in California, Nick Reiner is not guilty of murder.
Wow.
Print
Very
that.
powerful statement. Whoa.
Print that.
For a guy backing away from a case, you're doing a nice thing for the public defender who's coming in because you're a very well-known and very well-researched and intelligent criminal defense attorney who just, set the tone. You gave an endorsement and a resignation at the same time.
Yeah, and I wasn't doing any favors to any one particular person, the public defender, et cetera. I have a lot of faith in the public defender's office. I have a lot of faith in Kimberly Green. I have a lot of faith in their representation. They're outstanding legal professionals. I was doing a favor to the truth. We have worked at that time. It was about 3 weeks, almost to the day. We had worked tirelessly, nearly every waking hour, our entire team. And you saw the team behind me. Nearly my whole firm was commissioned with the responsibility to research this case, investigate the case, and do what we felt like we needed to do to get prepared for the beginning stages of the case, which is always the most stressful, right at the beginning stages. And it was important for me to right some wrongs that had been printed. Lots of speculation, lots of people who want to believe certain things. And so that with that statement, that's as far as I'm going to go. I believe in it. I believe exactly what I said. What I said is the truth under the laws of the state of California. He's not guilty. And it was important for me to make sure that the public understands.
That's an interesting statement. Under the laws in California, he's not guilty. And I'm wondering, though, if this has to do with any mental health aspect of anything. Obviously, we've heard about Nick's past. So I'm going to be really curious how this shapes out. So we're going to get into the next segment where he's going to talk about why he withdrew from the case. He says he refuses to give specific details due to ethics. He confirms withdrawal was necessary, formal, and final. And then he reaffirms the commitment to Reiner's best interest despite the withdrawal. All right, let's play through this segment here.
Understood that as I had to step away.
So the big question everybody's wanting to know the answer to is, why did you step away?
Yep.
That's a confidential communication between a lot of folks that I'm not willing to disclose.
But you just used the verb commissioned. So you were hired to do the job. And I look, I know you well enough to know when you're pissed off, and I'm looking at your body language there. You're emphatic in your support of Nick and that he's not guilty in this situation. But I also see that you're not happy. So what?
Well, it was
something happened.
Obviously,
right. and with the retainer.
And I said,
something.
Well, no.
I love it, Billy. I love Billy knows this is the thing. And this is we talked about too. He's talking about it's the money, it's the retainer. So again, we can speculate and look at this. Okay, was the family there to support Nick? The money comes out. Alan becomes the attorney. He and then maybe the DA comes forward with some really hard and shocking evidence that Nick is involved in this crime. Maybe there's video, maybe there's, handprints, footprint, whatever it may be that leads directly back to Nick. The family sees that evidence and then they go, no, we're going to pull back and we're pulling the money away. Good luck with the public defender. Have a nice day, Nick. Could be that. Again, we're only speculating here.
Money thing?
You can't say that. You can't say that, Billy. You can't say that something happened with the retainer because I've never said that. So I don't want you to put that.
No, I mean, not like the actual retainer number, but the retention of you.
Right. So obviously something happened with my ability and my team's ability to continue the representation. But I don't want you, your audience, anybody else to start speculating.
We did speculate. Sorry,
I have not said a word about it.
They speculate. That's all.
Yeah, that's what they do. That's what. And
the Greek chorus is ablaze.
Yeah, I get it. But at the same token, by the same token, I'm saying that it does not matter at this point. I said. What I said at the press conference because it's true, and I believe it in my heart. And I also said that my team and I remain and will remain completely committed to the best interests of Nick Reiner, and that's also true, and that's not going to change. But I'm not going to get into the specifics of why it was necessary for me to withdraw.
Is there any chance that you could rejoin the case, or is the ship 100% sailed?
The withdrawal is in the books. The court has relieved me of his counsel, and that's where it stands moving forward.
Okay. Did you meet with Nick? What is have you been able to? Can you describe what is he like? What is his psychological, emotional state? Is he conversant? Is he?
I know there's a lot of interest. I know there's a lot of interest in that, but I can't go into that. That would be impertinent. That would be no. I can't go into that.
In a period of 3 weeks, taking on a case like this, all of a sudden, what kind of work goes into something like that? What's the first thing that you do?
In any case, I'm not going to relate this specifically to
just in general, like something like it.
Of Nick. Yeah, but in any case, the first thing you need to do is try to communicate with the district attorney's office and get as much information as you can from them. They always end up with the information.
And the district
first.
attorney in this case is Nathan Hochman.
Could be Jay.
Right?
Yes. He's the DA. He's not the deputy DA that's handling the case.
So he's the DA, but he's the ultimate voice on the other side,
Correct.
right? He said, I'm very confident that there will be a full, conviction and this guy will be found guilty. We know where he stands.
He
but
is
of course,
welcome to his confidence.
He defeated George Gascon. His predecessor was known as soft on crime.
Right.
So he kind of ran on I'll be the opposite of George.
Right.
So he's going to be, which is for you, it's going to be like, okay, he's got to prove himself on every front, but he's a serious guy. We have respect for Nathan.
Sure.
But he's sort of laid out that he's confident there will be a full conviction. So Kimberly Green is the public defender who's now running the case.
Right.
But either if it's you or her, you're still up against the DA who wants a conviction.
So I would presume ethically that every DA who brings a case wants a conviction. They better.
Right.
They better think that they have the evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to 12
We may never know.
thinkers.
That's the thing. We may never know. Cluster says, what changed when he took Nick as a client that he didn't know initially? Yeah, I mean, we may never know that. We may never know. And I think that this is going to be battled out, and there's going to be a lot of mental health that's talked about in that case. Obvious, something that he doesn't want to get into, knowing that, he's not Nick's lawyer anymore or affiliated with that case. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. I think, my own speculation here, it's going to have a lot to do with mental health. We heard about some medications being changed just leading up to this. So I don't know. But it'll be interesting to follow it. All right, here we go.
So-and-so is guilty of such and such. They better, otherwise it's unethical. It's an unethical prosecution from the beginning. So he and Nathan and his deputies can believe what they want. I don't fault them for that. I believe that at the end of the day, that's why we have trials. That's why we have trials, and that's why there is supposed to be an inherent fairness in terms of sharing discovery. So as I started to say a second ago, in any case, it doesn't matter if it's this case or any other case, the first thing that you have to do is try to gather information. Information is power, right? So the first thing we do is reach out to the DA's office and say, give us everything that you've got, everything that you can possibly, that you remotely have in your possession or should have in your possession. Go out and get it, give it to us. And that way we're on an even playing field, and we can begin assessing the evidence and the facts from an even playing field. That's the first thing to do. And so that takes an enormous amount of energy to download. You're drinking from a water hose, or from a fire hose, I should say, right at the very beginning. So you're uploading and onboarding an enormous amount of information.
So everybody's on the same playing field, so it's even, and we all know.
Well, that's by theory. So one of the problems that we have is that it never happens.
Yeah.
Like we never get the information that
question from Tammy. Tammy says, maybe AJ's office didn't have the legal expertise that Nick needed. Well, I mean, look at Alan Jackson's a very, esteemed lawyer. He's probably come across multiple situations in life scenarios. So I wouldn't put any, what's the word I'm looking for? I think Alan could handle it. I think Alan can handle that. I think it just came down to and this is only my opinion, and I'm sure people in the chat, is the money got pulled back from the family and basically said, Nick, you're on your own. You're on your own. All right. Coming up in the next segment, they're going to talk about the insanity defense explained, which is very interesting about this and has a very interesting concept to it, because we talked previously about, Nick's state possibly of his mental health. He's going to explain why the insanity defense are rare and complex. He notes that the justice system is built to punish, not treat an illness, and reject statistical thinking. Every case is unique on its own.
That we think we're entitled to. We'll talk about Fraser's case, Fraser Bohm's case, in just a second. And there's issues with that, exactly on that point, that we are not getting information that we believe we are rightfully entitled to.
Are you concerned? There's reports out there to defend a couple things. Well, let's begin with this. Hypothetically, this is what I read. And again, it's hypothetical. Let's take it out of this specific case. But if you are a criminal defense attorney and you're going for not guilty for reasons of insanity, I understand that that's less than 1% of those of people go for that in the first place. And of those who do, 10 to 15% are successful and prevail. The chances are not good. They're not that high. And of that group, I read this, tell me if it's true, it's mostly women who have killed their children because they're in some kind of, other personality, some kind of other state. Are those numbers about right? Like, that's how rare it is?
As a defense attorney, I never listen to, and I'm not driven by probabilities or possibilities. The statistics are just that. They're statistics. They don't mean anything. You take every single case, top to bottom, exactly based on the information that you have in front of you. Every case is different. So not guilty by reason of insanity exists in the penal code for a reason. It's very specific, and it's built into the justice system to try to deal with circumstances that literally are they're outside the purview of the justice system. The justice system is generally built to punish. That's what it's built for. Crime is committed, the evidence is presented to a jury, a factual finding is made, and then a punishment is exacted. Not guilty by reason of insanity or any kind of a mental health defense is something that is, the reason it's more rare is because it's difficult for the justice system to get their arms around that. It is a nuanced set of laws, and you have to have quite a capable set of lawyers marshaling that evidence and trying to get through that very labyrinthine set of laws. That's why it's rare. I don't care if it's
more the more high profile someone is.
What do you mean? Cost more?
Well, because another stat. I mean, someone said it's going to cost. An article I read, $5 to $10 million would be what it would cost to really defend this all the way. Because the most expensive thing in a case like that are the experts, where most of the money goes. But if you're someone with no name and your father was not a huge beloved director, would it cost less, or is it always going to be that much money to get that type of ruling?
Profile. If a lawyer is doing his or her job, a defense lawyer is doing his or her job, the profile is of no. It's of no moment. It's of no factual moment in terms of deciding how to defend the case. You defend the case as hard. You go at it as hard and as tough as you would if somebody has more anonymity, as you would if somebody has notoriety. It doesn't matter. That means nothing. People don't charge. I cannot imagine that an expert would charge a different rate because of the notoriety of the client that person is representing.
Yeah, and they shouldn't do that. All right, next segment, we're going to go into prison versus state hospital. AJ is going to talk about, explains the outcomes of guilty versus guilty in a maximum security prison and not guilty by reason of insanity at state psychiatric hospital. He's going to emphasize insanity acquittal is still not freedom. All right, here we go.
Is there something that's happening out there with this case and the talk around this case? By the way, I'm looking in this chat section. These people are like debating the hell out of each other. It's wild in here. It's kind of great. Steve, if you see anything that you want to bring out, I mean, there's so much has been said. There's so much innuendo. There's so much talk about it. Is there anything you've seen that you, I don't know, want to address or would address on Nick's behalf?
No. I don't speak on Nick's behalf at this point. I speak as a private citizen at this juncture, right? I've withdrawn from his representation, so I don't speak for Nick. I've said all that I would be willing to say, all that I think is legally and ethically correct. I'm bound by legal and ethical restrictions, and so I've said as much as I can say. People are going to speculate.
I will say this: I've known you for a while, and you are. I mean, no different on than you are off. I mean, you are ethical and tough.
Yeah, I know that there's parameters. There's borders that I can work within, and there's borders that I should not cross. And
Chrissy's asking, why do you think that AJ chooses to speak with Billy Bush? I think there's a friendship there. They're out in the LA area. I think that he trusts Billy when he does these types of interviews. And let's face it, every time Alan's been on the show, I think they've been some of the best Alan Jackson interviews. Billy is, like I said, he's out from LA. He's with the, that in crowd out there. He's Hollywood, AJ's out from that area. So it's probably easy for him to just come in and do a show. They have a friendship, and Alan trusts Billy, and they are. I mean, out of all the interviews that I've seen Alan Jackson on, these are the ones that I find most enjoyable because it just flows. So yeah, I mean, that would be my opinion. That would be my opinion on it. All right, let's see where we are. I'm just looking at timestamps. Okay, they're talking about state prison versus state hospitals. Here we
I'm not going to cross them, not for anybody. And I'm not going to do anything or say anything that I think would compromise a former client. I always have fealty and loyalty to any client, even if they are a former client. So I will not discuss anything further than what I basically said at the press conference, and I think that's appropriate.
Help me with how the system works again on just any person who's in a situation like this. If, as Nathan Hochman said, they got the conviction and it was guilty across the board, so you're not going to a state psychiatric institute, where would someone like that go?
If
what would
you're
happen?
asking if somebody just hypothetically is
a
not guilty by
different
reason-
person. I mean, just
So, right,
anyone, random
right.
person, and this was the situation.
Not guilty by reason of insanity is still a not guilty, but
Right.
but you are the system is built such that you're not just released. You go to a psychiatric facility, a state hospital.
Very tough to get
and
out.
You undergo intensive and hopefully appropriate psychiatric treatment, medication.
And the
treatment,
thought is,
therapy.
Who was the guy who shot Reagan? He was the guy that was obsessed with Jodie Foster. Not Oswald. Who shot Reagan? You guys can let me know in the chat. What was his name? I don't have it off the top of my head right now. But he was obsessed with Jodie Foster. Jodie Foster, I don't know, talked to him through Hinckley, John Hinckley Jr., right? Or Robert Hinckley Jr. Thank you. And he was the one that was saying that Jodie Foster was talking to him through the television or something like that, or through her movies, and made him do that. But Hinckley got insanity, and it took him I think he got out maybe 5 years ago, or maybe a little earlier than that, out of state, the mental hospital, right? I think they just released him not too long ago. All right, here we go.
If they heal you, then you come back and you could face it again, or you're there for.
No, we do not. No, double jeopardy applies, right, Billy? So if someone is found not guilty by reason of insanity, then double jeopardy is applied. A jury has found them not guilty by reason of insanity.
How long
So
ago
you go
was
to a
that? When
state
did he get
hospital.
out? What year
Not
was
on
that?
not on the criminal side, not for that conduct. No,
Right.
but it's not like you just go to a state hospital for a
was
year and a half
recent.
and then you get out. It's you have to go through intensive therapy and rehabilitation, and if and only if independent psychiatrists make a determination down the road that your illness, because that's what it is an illness, no different than any other illness, no different than cancer, no different than epilepsy. It's an illness that cannot be controlled. If at that time, if at some point it can be controlled, it can be you can be stabilized, etc. And only after independent psychiatrists make that determination, and then the DA's office weighs in, the defense weighs in, and a judge weighs in. At that point, then there is a possibility of stepping down from the state hospital, and then you go to a different facility or set of facilities called ConRep, and then you go through intensive therapy and continue your psychiatric treatment there. And only after that, if you're deemed legally sane, would there be a motion for release. But that could, sometimes it never happens. And sometimes it takes decades.
But if there's conviction, and as Nathan Hochman said, he feels confident that would be, what would then happen to a person like that? They would go
2016,
right
thank
to
you.
level 4 maximum security, like the worst of the worst stuff we see.
If someone's convicted,
on Mayor of Kingstown.
Yeah, someone's convicted. Someone's convicted. Period. Full stop. It's no different than anybody else. You
Period,
just go
full
to a
stop.
prison facility, and you live out the rest of your natural born life. If it's life without parole, you live out the rest of your natural life in a prison cell until you die.
Wow. That's just
Right? These are binary, very binary determinations.
Do you feel like you're not on the case, but do you feel like you would have won it?
Billy,
I'll reflect
love
back
it.
on what I said
Just
at the press conference
get him.
after a thorough review. Of
You
the
had 3
evidence.
weeks of intense work
Correct.
with your team. So you did at least the legwork. You did you were the filing subpoenas. You had you've got all this important background work.
Yep.
Because that's the guy. That's the energy I saw on the staircase.
Right.
Outside
right.
of court. I saw a
that's
guy
what
who
we
was
do.
pissed off because I got this. I know you. I can feel like that. I got this.
Right. I'll just reflect back to my statements.
not gonna
and
get it. You're
the
not gonna
attitude
get
that
it,
you
Billy.
saw.
You're not
Every
gonna
one of my
get it.
team members, our shoulders were back, our chins were up. Every one of my team members and I feel exactly the same way. So, yeah.
All right, real quick, I'm going to get to this. Karen, by the way, I got your email. The hats will go out on Friday, so look out for your hat. Should be there maybe Monday or Tuesday. My chat is frozen, but I'm going to try to read this over here. Thank you again, Brian, for another great live. Thank you again for another great live, Brian. You've been doing a lot of lives lately, and I've missed that. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate you being here, being a Ghost Squad member, supporting the super chat, sending that super chat up as well too. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I can see Sue. She says, "I love Alan. I love Billy for trying." against Allen. He's not going to give it to him. He's not going to. I'm sure they talked off air, but he's not going to get it on air. Let's see, 38. I'm just looking at my timestamp. So we're going to start going into. We're going to talk about Karen Reed again. He's going to talk about her civil and federal cases. Confirms that Karen is facing civil suits from the O'Keefe family. She has filed her own federal lawsuit, and state federal courts offers procedural advantages. And he's not going to talk about that because Billy's going to try to get out of him. He said, yeah, I'm not going to talk strategy. And he's going to say he criticizes the Mass state system without naming judges. All right, here we go.
And there's no, I mean, I remember when you said this is where it stands, but look, it's like, it's only been
Thank
a
you for the
month
10, by the way. I appreciate that, Karen.
The horrific death of Rob and Michelle. Things happen very quickly.
Right.
You're on the job like right away. You throw yourself into it. Imagine the emotion for the family, like what they're going through, the brother, the sister.
Devastating.
They don't know they've lost their parents, yet they love their brother. They don't know that's chaotic. I can't imagine that it's settled down. It's only been a month, and it was just so deeply emotional and scarring. You said that's where it stands now. I mean, who knows where this gets going? But once a case is in the hands of a public defender, can it come out?
Once I'm done, I'm done. I've withdrawn. That's all I can say. I've withdrawn.
You still gotta get it, Billy.
Okay. So much to discuss your friend now. I mean, after all you guys have been through, Karen Reed.
Yes.
Right. She's facing she's defending against a civil case against the O'Keefe families, filed one against her in 2 bars.
Right.
And she's also filed her own, which has gone to, it's going to be in a federal court.
Correct.
So there's that. You're representing Fraser Bohm, a young man who had a horrific accident on the PCH, Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu.
Right.
And that's on your plate. And there's one other case out there of someone I wonder if you would defend them and what you would do. So we have more to go with our guest, Alan Jackson. This is the 1-year anniversary of Hot Mics with Billy Bush.
Congratulations, Billy.
Our own little show. And if you're new to it, which I'm sure several people are, not me, you, Alan, thank you for being here. And please hit subscribe. Quick note from our sponsor, Prize Picks.
I'm gonna just move past the sponsor. Here we go. Back to Jackson.
One that's coming against her, and the one that she's going after.
Right.
All those people that were in that house, the McAlberts, as they're known,
and the institutions as well.
And
That's
the
even more.
Commonwealth.
It just as important as the individuals is the institutions that objectively just failed, just completely failed her, failed the community. So those are big lawsuits.
But there was talk about combining them because it all deals with the same people and the same material.
Right.
But now one is going to federal court. So
there's procedural issues that lent themselves to removing some of the defendants up to federal court, but it's not going to change the contours of the allegations and the contours of the case. Ultimately.
So can they combine resources here and make it just one thing? We want to know.
No, when you get
the fans, by the way, I'm just going to say, we the fans just want to know who did it. It's not her. That's already been ruled. Who did it? And the O'Keefe's, bless their hearts, are just wasting time. There's just no way, in my opinion, this is not coming from you, that they are going to win this.
Federal court does not get televised. They usually have those people in there with the sketches. But we might, I don't know, it just depends. We might get transcripts or whatever it may be. So I don't know. Let's see. And I don't know if Nan is still in here. Maybe Nan can, or even Adam Teeper. If Adam Teeper's in here, my legal experts, Teeper Legal or Nan, maybe they can let you know, but I know it's not televised. $10 from Karen. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate your $10 against her. One more. I'm interested in the Fraser Bohm case. I'm going to sneeze. She said, excuse me. She said, I'm interested in the Fraser Bohm case and nobody's covering that. Would you do something on it? Yeah, I mean, I would look into it. There is a case that I want to start getting into because it's getting a fresh look from a DA, and that is the hang on one second. My computer's freezing here. Hold on 2 seconds. I am freezing. I want to start looking into the Ellen Greenberg case because it's very interesting. I'm sure you guys have heard about that. But I was reading an article today. It says U.S. Attorney's Office looking into case of filling woman that has been stabbed over 20 times. And it was ruled a suicide, but her injuries are to like the back of her head. So how do you stab yourself and die that way? It doesn't make sense. And that is a case that's really fascinated me since I started hearing about it, and something that I would like to look into. All right, but yeah, I mean, Fraser Bohm is not out of the question here. It is something that I can look into. You haven't heard of that? You haven't heard of that case? Oh, look at this. New people to the case. Look up Ellen Greenberg. And it's definitely a case that I want to get into. Okay, let's get back to Billy and AJ talking Karen Reed.
Criminal trial already said no across the board.
So the procedural niceties of federal court versus state court in Massachusetts, it is such that there's a barrier between them. You can't just combine the two cases because there's different sovereigns. It's literally a different court system. So
I agree,
our hope was, at least at it doesn't really matter to us. We don't really care. It would make it a little more convenient, a little more streamlined, obviously, if it was all in state court. But federal court benefits us in pretty significant ways as well. So we're fine.
Can you give one way? Tell me why federal court is better.
Well, it's not. I don't want to go into the specific details of strategy, but there are federal court rules that benefit us in certain things that we intend to do and propound in terms of our case, discovery issues, as well as evidentiary issues.
And you haven't had the greatest of experiences with the local system and the state system.
Let's
just say
I'm giving grace to the rest of the judges that are in the Massachusetts state system.
So she's got the federal case that she is pursuing, right? Which I love.
Yeah.
Look, you're a lawyer, but to me as an observer, I'm always stunned when someone just settles, or like if I'm accused of something horrible and I'm like, here, let's just settle with them. I don't want to go through. They say we don't want to go through the years of trouble. You just had your entire character impugned. Right. I don't know. Right. I would throw everything in the kitchen sink. I like the fact that Karen has turned around and said, yeah, I'm innocent. And what does a really innocent person do?
Yeah.
Like fight back.
Right. Which is exactly what that's how she's built. She's not going to,
she's scrappy and she's intelligent.
Yeah.
But she is fighting back and going, okay, let's find out who actually did this. And I admire that.
And show the warts and blemishes from inside the Massachusetts State Police. Show the warts and blemishes inside the system.
That's a big undertaking. That's a big admission. If the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, says
how many officers have been either disciplined from Massachusetts State Police, right? The untouchable, the Massachusetts State Police. Oh my God, they're untouchable. They've been around forever. They're storied. It's a storied agency or department. I don't know if I could tick off on. I couldn't tick off on one hand because it's more than 5. There have been a ton of officers who have either been disciplined, demoted.
We're going to hear about Proctor in this segment as well too. I got some notes here. He's going to say he describes corruption within Massachusetts as a cancer. He mentions discipline and fallout involving former trooper Michael Proctor, and the state system failures are systematic, not isolated. All right, here we go.
Stripped of their position, or just out and out fired in the case of Michael Proctor. So yeah, it is a big undertaking, but they can't get out of their own way. We have exposed such a core level of corruption within the Massachusetts State Police, a cancer within the Massachusetts State Police, as has been alleged in the lawsuit, that they're not going to fare well. They're not going to fare well at all.
Agree. Sure.
I have spoken to Karen only briefly. I don't know her like you know her, but she spent 3.5 years of her life doing this, and now it's going to be more. She's got a civil trial again against her, and the federal that she's playing offense. Psyche wise, she's in the prime of her life, right? She was in a relationship. There's the sweet things in life ahead, but this is going to become, in the end, what, like 6-7 years? This is a life defined. Can she handle, how does she take care of herself? Is she in a good headspace to deal with all this?
Can she handle it? Absolutely. Yeah. Like you said, Billy, at some point there comes a time when you say, okay, I'm not going to be the victim anymore. I'm not going to be the target anymore. I'm going to go out and start throwing my own haymakers. And that's what she's doing. She's in that mindset. If everybody went away, I don't know that would make her happy. She is a fighter. She wants resolution. And she has a right to it. She has a right to it. What the Massachusetts State Police did, this investigation that was so broken from the very beginning, that led in no small part, it led to her having to go through these last 3.5 years that you just mentioned of being targeted and feeling like she was on the back of her heels. She's entitled, and good for her, wanting to fight back and establish what the true facts are. And those true facts are going to be pretty ugly. They've already been pretty ugly. I mean, Jesus, you watch the trial.
You and she are going to do maybe a project together, right?
We are. That is in the works.
Can she do that while this case is going
Sure.
on, or just talk about other things, or she can talk some things about this because
no, she can talk about
in what? Tell me what you said, Brian. I hope you and Nan will go over all the filings, etc. with us. What case? Let me know what case. Greenberg case? Is that what you're interested in? Yes. Yeah, I want to go through that case. It is fascinating, and it's a total cover up. Okay, here we go.
There are certain things that we would probably hold back on a podcast if we were.
She's lucky that her partner doing this will be you, and also her lawyer says, "Don't do that, don't do this." It's like you're like the ultimate executive producer.
We've got a built-in safety net, yeah. But we think that this is an opportunity for. In a very, very unique way for Karen to talk about the justice system writ large. Like, what does that consist of? She has been the target. I have been the challenger. We have built a teamwork and a network that really has foundation in discussing other cases, the system at large, the justice system, the court system, DA's offices, investigative agencies, things of that nature. And nearly every day, something comes across our feed, something comes across your feed in social media about some injustice that is alleged to have occurred somewhere in this country. We have myriad
look at it right
emails.
now.
I mean, over and
Minneapolis
over and over.
is so ablaze in our country.
So that would be a topic of discussion that I think Karen and I would offer a very unique perspective on. She's got the unique perspective of having been the person who is falsely accused, having been targeted by a behemoth system with unlimited resources and unyielding motivation to.
So Adam Tipa Legal says, I love federal court, state court. The rules are stricter, but allows for so much consideration. It's just different in positive ways, and it moves fairly fast, removes the posturing. That's great, Adam. Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
To try to subjugate her, to try to attack her. And I've had the unique opportunity of being able to defend that person. So when we sit down together, I think us taking the bigger issues, the justice system in America, and really tackling those and dissecting them and peeling the onion back from both of our perspectives, I think it'll be pretty fascinating.
What is going on with the justice system in America? Is it under threat? I mean, I don't know how political you get, but like
I try not to get political, but I can tell you from a legal standpoint, it is it's discouraging. That's a word that I would use to describe what's happening in courtrooms and in investigative agencies across the country.
What about the DOJ?
Same thing. There are warts and blemishes within the DOJ that are now being exposed. That unfortunately, that's the sort of.
I'm going to go back to Turtle Boy here. I got some notes. Praises grassroots journalism, says Turtle Boy shine a spotlight on corruption and paid the price. And he warns whistleblowers are often retaliated against.
Little secret is that it's been going on for years and decades. And it requires, I think social media is a great platform because there's so many opportunities for people to speak out who have had no voice before. So they can get out on social media and make a splash. Look what Aiden did. Right to
Turtle Boy,
to really shine a hot spotlight on corruption that was right under his nose, that he's actually experienced himself because he shined the spotlight on it. Now he's being attacked by the very behemoth, by the very 800-pound gorilla that he exposed. How's that fair? Well, that's just an indicator. That's just a paradigm of a larger problem throughout the country, both on the federal level with the DOJ to state courts and state agencies across the country. And it's high time that someone starts exposing these things and pointing a finger and showing some spine and not being afraid because of the amount of exposure social media brings to bear. It does provide a little bit of a safety net. So it's discouraging, but it's an exciting time for exposition to expose some of these ills that have badly needed rectifying for many, many years.
Hey, Billy and Alan, you brought up Yeah, you brought up Turtle Boy, and I just wanted to, from Anne Dunlap, 1951. She says, "Thank you, Mr. Alan Jackson, for acknowledging Aiden Kearney, and prayers will be set free." You know, saying that it was out there that there was some, maybe everyone
There's a
doesn't
lot
get
of
along.
turtles. There's a look at
It was saying
Alan,
maybe everyone
look at all
doesn't
the
get
turtles in the chat
There's a
section.
lot of
I'm
turtles.
turning my laptop
I like
around
it.
to Alan.
Good,
Look
good.
at all the turtles.
And there should be. There should be.
But
Good.
I think they liked hearing you, Alan, that you're reaching out and saying something about Turtle Boy. I think there's a lot out there that maybe parties on both sides aren't getting along, but they like to hear the nice words that you said.
Of course. Yeah.
Well, where was the first place that Alan Jackson appeared after the trial was over? I think you went, you paid respect, and you spent a Saturday night live with him.
Sure.
Right? That was you know, you could have
by design. I could have picked
Howie
any place I
Carr,
wanted to.
Boston Globe, many other people who were all over this. Me, I was asking. You went right to Turtle Boy first.
There's a beauty to groundwork being done by its own community. In other words, when you talked about Minneapolis, you talk. There's other communities throughout the country that are suffering at the hands of not just incompetence, but in some cases, just abject corruption. And when you have a grassroots movement from anybody, if anybody can get that started, that has so much power in bringing to light and protecting the folks, bringing to light the corruption and protecting the folks who have been the target of the corruption. And by the way, I'm far from it. I'm not saying that all police agencies are bad or all investigators are bad or they always get it wrong. But I'm saying they get it wrong a hell of a lot of times, a hell of a lot of the time. And there are
there's getting
folks,
something wrong, and then there's like she did it, and something is blatant, and this woman goes to jail for the rest of her life.
Yeah, and
for
we know
murder.
we know she didn't do
Like,
it. And
what?
we're still
You're
gonna
willing
say
to
she
do that? Your conscience will be okay at night by pinning this because you need a win so badly.
Every one
Michael
of the folks.
Morrissey?
Every one of those folks, starting with Michael Morrissey,
The DA. I mean,
every single one of those folks slept like a baby, and that is tragic. They slept like a baby.
The quote I had up in my notes before we started. They slept like babies, prosecuting an innocent woman.
Baby, knowing full well that they were prosecuting an innocent woman. They damn well did. That is shameful. That is tragic. That there's no more moral compass in the system, especially out there, in the system of justice out there in Massachusetts, then those folks could go home at night and justify their conduct. It's unjustifiable, unacceptable. And that's what we're going to expose in the civil cases.
Well, you are not afraid to speak emphatically and call it out, and you did then, and you still do. And boy, these trials. When does that? It seems to be a lull in the action, if you will.
The civil cases. I mean, Billy, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So all these civil cases will take a good amount of time. I mean, we're just in the beginning of the discovery phases. Not a single deposition has been taken yet.
Is this going to cost Karen a bunch of money to defend herself? Right.
The entire.
Where does she get it?
The entire. Absolutely, it's going to cost her a pretty penny to defend herself.
So she has to raise money from people.
Correct.
And that's why we emphasize this. That civil fund is very important.
I've seen speculation out online about that she's got plenty of money and this, that. She's
how?
No, she does not. She does not have the funds and the resources to defend herself against the O'Keefe suit, and she's doing the best she can. She's not going to.
Will we see something in this? Will it get moving in
no,
the spring?
Yes, there will be additional court appearances. As a matter of fact, there will be some movement in the discovery world. Depositions are starting to get scheduled, et cetera. So you'll see some movement, but it goes at a glacial pace. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
It's not like a criminal case.
It is the 1-year anniversary of Hot Mics, our podcast, our platform. Alan Jackson, criminal defense attorney extraordinaire, our guest today. Couldn't think of anything more appropriate. He has found himself, he's just in pivotal cases, in pivotal moments.
Real quick, they're going to get into talking about the jury reaction. Jackson's going to describe the verdict confusion and emotional whiplash, and then he's going to mention the jury briefly announced and then they withdrawed, and he describes the physical stress in pacing in circles waiting for that verdict, and that's of course the Karen Reed's case. Here we go.
It's unbelievable. What's happened to you over the last year is incredible, and us. So here we are together on this day. This is just one of the moments along the way in our 1-year history when we were watching live. We decided to stream live for the first time ever, and it was during when the verdict came out, and you were on the steps. So fire away, fellas.
So say you all.
Guilty.
003. What say is the defendant at the bar leaving the scene after accident resulting in death? The defendant not guilty or guilty? So say
No! They're not silent outside anymore.
So you upon your oath say the defendant on 001 is not guilty.
Whoa!
And 002 is guilty of operating in the influence of liquor.
Oh, one for the road.
003
Fine, you got it for drinking and driving. Okay. Yeah, and go give one to Brian Albert and Brian Higgins too. Go get them one. Oh my God.
That's one of the best things I've ever seen. Literally, that's how have you hidden that from me all this time? I have never seen.
I've never even seen that either.
I never saw that. That is one of the best reactions I've ever seen.
Oh, I mean, you know, I'm a pretty emotive fellow, but
yeah,
that
was just like that was right from the gut.
This better be 3 for 3, dude. I mean, this better, you know. I mean,
yeah.
We all have a.
Try standing in the courtroom and not doing that, because that's what I wanted to do.
Obviously. Oh yeah, what were you feeling? I mean, physiologically, you must have been like, oh my God, rush over your skin.
It's so draining, right? You're there for, and it's not. Keep in mind, that's the culmination of day after day, hour after hour, minute after minute of hearing nothing. You get nothing. Yeah. You get nothing. You get nothing. And then remember what happened just before they actually read the verdict. So we get called over. We're waiting in an office complex close by, because Judge Canoni said she wanted us within 5 minutes of the courthouse. So we stayed, we were situated. And we get a call. There's a verdict. And we're like, okay, saddle up. Saddle the heck up. Family show.
Saddle up.
I probably said something different. I probably
tonight. I love it. Thank you so much. $10 says last super chat. That's what you should do. Go over the sidebars. I really haven't seen them anywhere. I think Trial Channel is doing that. The thing with me, Karen, it's just time. I don't have the time to go through and put them all together. You know, you got to think, I work full time. So, you know, it's crazy. I'm working full time, and then I'm thinking of a concept for a show as I'm working and putting together my notes. And, you know, sometimes if I get a day off in between, I can plan that. And it honestly, it would just be time. It would take so long for me to go through that. And I respect the fact that you're honoring me to do that. It's really tough for me. I don't work from home. You know, I work long hours, and, you know, the little time that I have to come out and make some content on, you know, Monday, Wednesday, and Sundays, you know, it's tough. It really is tough. But, you know, it's something that I wouldn't say it's out of the realm of possibility. I would have to look into it, but it's a lot. It is a lot. But no, I appreciate you recommending that. So let's see. The Trial Channel, they've been doing it. So I would say check them out, because they've been putting the actual testimony together. And then when they're breaking for the sidebar, they're putting in that testimony. And they do a really good job at that. Sophie, look at this. Member for 16 months. Thank you, Sophie. I appreciate you so much. And channel moderators, just thank you for going over this. Thank you for being here. We have about another, 15 minutes or so with Billy and Alan. Phenomenal interview. I always like Billy Bush and Alan together. They do a great job. And congratulations, Billy, on a year on YouTube. Great job over there. Here we go.
I said that. So saddle up. Let's go. Tighten your tie, tighten your belt strap. Let's do this. We get over to the courthouse, and the judge calls us up to sidebar, and we're like,
still have no signal.
What now? Like what? Yeah, literally, what now? God have mercy. And she says, I can't quote her because it's a sidebar and it's been impounded, but it's something to the effect of, you're not going to believe this, but there was a verdict announced, and then it had been so long in coming. Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. I just watching it back, it brings back a ton of emotion.
Oh man. Yeah, look at that. Holy mackerel. Just so there she is in periwinkle blue jacket.
Yeah.
I love that number. The weirdest thing that's happened in the 1 year, 1 year history of Hot Mics is we have a sidecar to the main show, and that's Morning Mics, which is, Steve and I, Monday to Thursday, I just hop on there and I kind of go through the newspaper with people. So if you've never joined us before, we do it at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 Eastern. It's just a great way to break down our world each day. The weirdest thing that ever happened was when People's Sexiest Man Alive came out. There was we all debated who should be in there. So I said, wait, who's the Hot Mike's Sexiest Man Alive? Alan, you're not going to believe who won this. I think
Oh
you know.
my God! Stop it.
You were Vanity Fair. That's fair. But you were not Hot Mike's Sexiest Man Alive. You got Bigfooted
by
David Yannetti.
Nice. Yes. I love it.
I texted Yannetti and I said, Yannetti, he's like, I'm sorry, do you have the right person? It's like, tell Mrs. Yannetti that she needs to watch so she can enhance her value.
Yeah, you're welcome, Robin. That's his wife. God. That's fantastic. Well earned. Yeah.
So before we go anywhere, and before I welcome my landlord into the room, because I've been renting from a man for a year, somebody that everybody knows, well-known landlord. I call him Fred Trump. You have another serious case on your hands here, and that is Fraser Boehm, who is a young guy. He's 20. Is it 21?
No. He's like 20. He's 24 now. But
24 now.
Yeah, he was 22 at the time.
22 at the time that he was driving on the PCH. He went around that terrible corner that it's Dead Man's Curve, and it's what they call it. But anyway, he hit a car. The car hit the women. He was going fast. There's a debate over to how fast. Where does this stand for him? Where are you in this process?
As a matter of fact, I'm going to be in court 2 days from now, Wednesday. We're going through the natural progression of a criminal case, the life of a criminal case, where we're going back and forth about discovery and issues related to discovery. We are trying to get. I mean, we're running into some buzzsaws, which is what I was talking to you about. All I ask of the government is just play fair. That's all. Just play fair. You win fair and square. You win fair and square. But just play fair. Don't cut.
Now, what was the speculation in his case that there was like a road rage incident or an alleged road rage incident before this accident happened? That's what Jackson's alleging. Let me know in the chat. I think that's what I heard about this case.
Corners and don't put your thumb on the scale. We've asked for Fraser's phone, his own phone, his phone.
And they're saying they've done distracted driving,
partial download on his phone, because we know that there's going to be telltale GPS data and location data, things of that nature on the phone. There's going to be things of note that both sides should thought. But the prosecution will not give us the phone to do an extraction, a download. So we've got to go to court, ask the judge to get involved.
You confident you'll get the phone?
Yeah,
you need the phone.
Of course I'm going to get
crucial.
the phone.
It has
of
all
course
the
I'm going to get the phone. Yeah, absolutely I'm going to get the phone. The problem is the prosecution has said, and this is the stuff that drives me nuts. I want the prosecution to, be able to zealously advocate for their client, the people of the state of California, and they can strike hard blows, but you can't strike foul blows. This is a foul blow. They said, okay, we'll give you the phone, but you got to give us his password. Well, the last time I checked, that's a Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination. We don't have to help you prosecute our client. I'm not going to give you his password. No, I have his password, obviously, but I need his phone. If you don't have it, tough. That's the part of being with the government. That's the hard part.
Yeah, you're not going to tamper with anything either. You're going to lose your license if you do. So
there's not going to be any shenanigans, nothing like that. I just want the phone. I want to download. So now we've got to go back to court and fight about that. And that is a fight that I don't think we should have had to have waged. It takes time and money and energy and momentum out of the case. So it's little things like that drive me nuts. But we are in full swing in Fraser's case of getting the evidence that we need to establish that these murder charges are absolutely outrageous.
And it was like four young girls that were caught up in the accident and killed. And then they were saying, I think from the defense side, is that there was a road rage incident, but they're saying he was either drunk and distracted driving. I think that's what happened.
This is not a case of
the two sides of the coin.
All, not even close. And we will get there. We will get there. My hope is that the DA's office and very, very reasonable Nathan Hochman, whom I like very much, he and I consider him a colleague, but we have different views of certain cases. My hope is that when all of this is presented to him, he will take the position that this was overcharged, not by him, but by the Gascon administration, and do the right thing. And let us fight this case where it should be fought.
He inherited it from Gascon.
He inherited it from Gascon. He hasn't moved on it. He hasn't really said one way or another.
Gascon was a guy who'd let you pillage a CVS and steal everything, and then let you out of jail for that. But if there's a kid with who looks like that, who lives up in Malibu, and he gets into trouble, that's an easy one.
Yeah,
I mean, that was Gascon.
Yeah.
Alan Jackson is our guest for the 1-year anniversary here of Hot Mike's, the landlord. Do you want to let the Howie, come here, honey. Booby. If I opened the door, Howie would have fell in.
How do you know?
That is too good.
Come in here. Come in here. Will you come over here with me and talk?
I love it.
I'm the only person Howie. I can get close to Howie. He's okay with that.
Everybody.
And I want you, Adam, I respect my elders. I want you to sit in my chair.
Respecting my elders.
I love it.
Come here, honey. Let's do this together. No. You get in the chair.
Oh, really?
I'm giving my chair to you, and I'm on my knees here once again.
First of all, I want to say,
hello.
Can I say something to you? Happy anniversary. This is 1 year. This is the 1 year.
Amazing.
Hot Mics. I've never missed an episode.
Amazing.
And I love this guy.
He's my landlord. Now remember, I give him a check every month.
I'm his friend. And I love what he's doing here. And look at this. They just told me who was here, Alan Jackson. I'm not a big country music fan, but your songs really
How did I know?
Have moved me more than any other for country.
I love it. I love it.
And that's great. And I wanted to also, I didn't know what to get you, but I got you a little something for the 1 year anniversary.
Me?
Yes.
What are these? Panic panties.
In case anything, what if?
In case anything goes wrong.
What the?
Don't say.
One pre-washed everyday stretch thong.
So good.
You don't know.
Premium thong. Look at that. Wow.
Because that's how good a friend you are. And I love you. I love what you're doing. I don't miss a day. And I'll tell you honestly, I do know who you are. And those were the highlights of this year. You've been the highlight, the whole
I appreciate you saying
Karen
that.
A
thread.
That means a lot.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I have Howie on the edge of his seat for all of this.
I'll tell you, if I ever do something.
You won't. Don't worry.
I might now. Now that I feel protected. I feel because I know you and I can go, hey, remember? I'm the guy who loved your songs.
Yeah, exactly.
Help me.
You remember the underwear? Yeah.
Yo, I tell you something. I want to say it to Panic Panties, this company. If you come on as a sponsor for year 2 of Hot Mics, I will wear these.
He's singing your thong.
So good.
All right. Anyway, happy anniversary. Continued success.
Thank you.
I'm talking
Thanks,
to
Howard.
your clients, not you.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes.
Exactly. I appreciate it, Howard.
He's a mentor and a friend and a great supporter and a terrific. I love you so much. Thank you, Howie.
And keep doing the good work, Alan.
Oh, the great Howie Mandel. Howie, you're the best. I love you, babe. Thanks. You know what? These actually look like the men. Who brings you a thong, right? Can you do that?
Howie does.
Should I take him to HR? I think that was like, I don't know if my space is, that's the kind of, we have a wonderful little world here.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. And by the way, this new studio that you got is phenomenal.
Is it?
Oh
yeah.
my God.
That's what you get for year 2, your own studio. No more sharing with other people. We got our own spot. We're running.
You've got the most comfortable chair I've ever interviewed in. I don't want to leave. That's why I'm still here. I just don't want to get up.
Don't ever.
I'm just melting into this chair.
And we're right off the 405 on your way home. So, always and often. Folks, thank you very much for being a part of Hot Mics year 1. Can't wait for year 2. We've got a heck of a lot planned. On Wednesday, we've got the great stand-up comic Andrew Santino. The great Santino will be with us live, 10 a.m. on Wednesday. And we got Billy Bob Thornton. After that, we got Megan Kelly.
Wait, what I want to do is let's look at. So this is the case that I was talking about earlier. If you haven't heard about it, it's the Ellen Greenberg case. And I'll read a little bit about this before we wrap up tonight. I want to thank everybody for jumping in. Thanks to all those great fucking bunnies that jumped in here and helped the algorithm and push this along tonight. I appreciate that. That was great. See, that's the great thing about YouTube, understanding how it works and the analytics. Flood the chat, it works. All right, so U.S. government looking into Ellen Greenberg case. Sources say Ellen Greenberg was 27 years old when she was found inside her young apartment by her fiance, suffering 23 stab wounds in January of 2011. It goes into a new twist was uncovered in the death investigation that started 15 years ago and received worldwide attention. The investigation into the death of 27-year-old school teacher Ellen Greenberg has been a long road for her family in the city of Philadelphia. And now the U.S. Attorney's Office for Eastern District of Pennsylvania is interested in the Ellen Greenberg case, according to several sources. The federal government requested documents and information from the Philadelphia Police Department and other agencies last month, sources told NBC 10. It's unclear how the federal government became involved and if they will release any details of interest in Ellen Greenberg's death. Greenberg was discovered by a fiancé in January of 2011 inside her 6th-floor apartment in Philadelphia neighborhood. The 27-year-old had 20 stab wounds. The medical examiner originally ruled her death a homicide, but later switched it to a suicide. It remained that way ever since. But the newest development provides a new hope for her parents who insisted the justice system failed them. Ellen's parents, along with her team of attorneys, have long insisted that the evidence shows that the teacher was murdered. They've also waged a years-long battle with Philadelphia and accused the city of labeling her death a suicide, allegedly covering up a botched homicide investigation. The family's first real sign of progress came in January of 2025 when the original medical examiner on the case said in a written sworn statement that Ellen's death should be designated as something other than a suicide. And I think, if I can find it here, let me see. Ellen Greenberg. Let's see. If you haven't seen, this one here. This is the apparent suicide that they said. Here's where she was essentially stabbed in the back of her head. In the back of her head. So chest stabs and then stabs in the back of the neck and in the back of her head. And they're saying they ruled it as suicide. So super interesting case. Something that I've been interested in a while. I want to research and get more into it. The legal documents, the court documents, and go from there. So we'll start putting some work into that. Let me see. I think I just had some other super chats come through. Chess content sucks. I appreciate that. Haters gonna hate. Thanks, Chris, for the 10. I appreciate that. Just gave $19.99 to Messy Jessie for some bagels. She didn't need them, but and thanks for the 4. I appreciate that. And Chris, thanks for the 5 gifted memberships. I appreciate that as well. Hey, look, she cared enough to come over here and try to disrupt the stream. She cared enough to send people over here and disrupt my stream. I don't really care either way, because when you come into a chat and you flood it in, it helps in the algorithm. So keep flooding if you want to do it. I thought it was actually kind of funny. Let's see. Granny says, no way she stabbed herself. And it didn't say some of the wounds were post-mortem. Yeah, it's a wild case. It's been suspected as a wild cover-up. And it's something definitely that has piqued my interest. So that's it. All right. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. There's no way. And let's see. Yeah, how does someone stab themselves in the back of the neck? Exactly. 3 Clerks Monty says her boyfriend's uncle is a powerful judge and he took the devices from all the apartments immediately after the incident. Yeah, it's a little troubling, right? So again, it's something that it's in Philly. It happened in Philly back in 2011 originally, and it's carried on for many, many, many years. Let's see. Karen Reed Defense Fund is at 44,650. We have an awesome show planned on Friday night. It's going to be on Mike's channel, The Young Jerks, but we're going to simulcast it across all the other respective creators' channels. I'm excited to do that. I think it's going to be a 3-hour show. I know Mike has some content creators lined up, some special guests, and we're going to get into that. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for being over here, Linda. If JFK is watching, if JFK is going live later, please make sure to go over and check out the JFK show. All right, everybody, I'm going to head out of here with about 2 hours on the end of the show. I appreciate all the support tonight, all the new members that came in, all the members that are here, and all of my moderators. I really appreciate it. All right, I'm going to head out. Everybody have a great night. I'll be back on Friday with the Young Jerks, and I'll talk to you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.